Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. Today I'm going to do a detailed review on this Cuisinart 14 cup DCC-3200 coffee maker. So they're still selling this coffee maker. You can get one on Amazon for $99. This is kind of their staple coffee maker. So it looks like a 12 cup, but this thing does 14 cups. It looks really nice and it looks like it's very well made. It's got a lot of metal on the outside. I do like the LED display. It looks a lot better in person. The video is not doing it justice. It's actually really clear and really well lit up. So I'm going to show you how to set the time. You can turn the tone. This thing beeps at you when it's done brewing coffee. If it's got the X, it won't beep at you when it's done brewing coffee. If you want to just come up here and brew a pot of coffee right now, you're going to hit that button. That's the Brew Now button. We're going to turn that off. It's got the program. I'm going to show you how to program it. You can select 1 to 4 cup. It brews it at a hotter temperature, they say, for a better taste when you do the small amounts. You do have a bold flavor. We're going to check how long that takes. It usually just brews it a little bit longer. And you do have a clean function. And this coffee maker will, so I'm going to do a separate video on how to clean the coffee maker. But it has an automated cleaning function, but you still have to add the vinegar and the water. Yeah, and one more thing, this coffee pot temperature. Cuisinart has this quite a bit. So you got low, medium, and high. That's how hot it keeps the warming plate. I keep mine on medium. You know, I don't know exactly what the different temperatures are, but it's how hot they can determine with that switch how hot it's going to keep this warming plate. So let's take a look at the coffee pot. Now, I'm not a big fan of these ones that are like this is on not permanent, but it's like a snap lid. I do prefer the ones with a thumb. It makes it easier to fill it up with water. Otherwise, you're having to try to get the water in there because this is what normal people use to fill up the water. Don't be afraid if it has a little damage on the warming plate. That seems to be typical of Cuisinarts. They still work. They can look like crud, but they still work just fine. This has a relatively small footprint. No cord storage. Pretty typical standard cord. The back of it does have an overflow. And up at the top, it's a cone filter. So it comes with a reusable filter. I like to use a number 4 cone paper filter. And here's the filter basket. This is a pretty standard filter basket. It's got that plunger at the bottom so that it's going to, when you pull the coffee maker out, it's going to stop the brew process so you can get a quick cup of coffee. And it goes in there one way. You know, it's got this little thing's going to go in the back. And it's got like a diagram here, so this goes there. So that's what it looks like when it's installed. I do love Cuisinarts. They have carbon filters. So on this is where you pour the water. So this is like the water reservoir, and it does have a sight glass on the side. And again, this is for 14 cups. But that's where the water goes down in there. See that little indentation? That's where the carbon filter goes. So you can buy new carbon filters. And you're supposed to change these about every 3 to 6 months. They're real simple to change. It's really easy. The new one, you just run it under water for a little bit to get the dust off. And then you're going to put it in here. Close it. And then that's where the carbon filter goes. It just fits right in there. Cuisinart really made their carbon filters really easy. That's the brew head. That's where the hot water is going to come out when you've got it down. We didn't have it quite right. So if you're off just a little bit, the lid won't close. See how that little ear, there's a spot for it to fit. So if you don't have the filter basket in, the lid won't close. But all in all, this has a really nice footprint. Like I said, really small. It just reminds you of a 12 cup coffee maker. It is just a little bit bigger, but it does 14 cups. So again, you do have to have access to the back and you do have to lift it up. It is about 21.5 inches tall. And up to where the lid closes, it's about 14. So a standard cabinet, you know, it's not going to fit under a standard kitchen cabinet. Standard kitchen cabinets are about 18.5 inches tall. Okay, so it's only about 8 inches wide. Front to back, only about 8.5 inches. So you do have to have some room to open the lid and to be able to pour the water. You know, you're going to want to pour it on the right side. The left side, you can pour it in, but that's where that carbon filter is. And you're going to have to get some access, you know, right here. You got to be able to lift the lid all the way open so that you can put your coffee in. Okay, so the blue LED display light, it shows up really good in person. The video's having a little bit of a hard time seeing it, but it looks really clear in person. So if you want to set time, the nice thing about this coffee maker is if it does lose power for more than a minute or two, sometimes it keeps its time. But if it loses more than 5 or 10 minutes, you may have to set the time. But to set the time, you're just going to come up here. You got to hold this hour button in until it starts flashing. Then you're going to change the time. There's only a PM light. So if it's in the morning, make sure you don't have the PM light on. But right now it's 2:10 p.m. Once it stops flashing, it'll memorize it. Okay, so now the time is set. I like that because if you accidentally hit these buttons, it doesn't change the time. You have to hold these buttons in order to change the time. So now let's say you want to set the program for in the morning. You're going to come up here and hold this button in. It's going to show what time you got it, but then it's going to start flashing. Now this is when you change the time. Again, make sure if you want it in the AM, the PM is not showing. So we want 5:20 AM. Give yourself about 15-20 minutes before you're ready for a pot of coffee. It's going to stop flashing. The nice thing about this is, so once it stops flashing, it sets the auto program. So that blue light is on. That lets you know that, okay, this is going to start in the morning. That's a really nice feature. If you want to cancel the automatic brew, you can come here and hit that. And the next day, make sure you got your coffee and your filter in. So once you've got the time set, you can just come up here every day. You can hold the button. Okay, yeah, that's the time I want it to start. And then just let go. Now, it did start flashing this time like I wanted to set it. But I don't have to set it. It's going to revert back. I can turn it off that way. But let's just say I hold it in for a second. Yep, 5:20. Yep. See how the blue light stays lit? That tells me that it's going to start in the morning. I have to go to bed with that blue light on here. This is the Brew Now button. So this blue light, it's going to brew the pot of coffee right now. We don't want that light. This is the one we want. Right there. And you can set the bold. If you want bold in the morning, you can set the bold flavor. So one more feature of the controls. You see how this says auto off? So the default, after you brew your pot of coffee, this thing leaves the warming plate on for 2 hours, but you can adjust that. So by hitting this auto off button, well, we're going to hold it. We got to hold it for a little bit. See how it flashes 2? I can change that all the way up to 4 or 0. And I can even change the amount of minutes. So say I just want this thing to stay on for 7 minutes. So after it's done brewing its pot of coffee, it's only going to keep that warming plate on for 7 minutes, which isn't very long. But you may want to set it to 0, like say you grab your cup of coffee and you're out the door. That way you don't have to remember to shut this coffee pot off. But if you don't do anything, the default is 2 hours. But you could go all the way up to 4 hours. Be careful with 4 hours because if you don't have very much coffee in there, it could boil it off and kind of burn the coffee in the bottom of it. So that's the auto off feature. You do have this 1 to 4 cup feature. In order to do it, you're going to put a smaller amount of water, a smaller amount of coffee in, and then you would just hit the Brew Now button. It does have a bold. When you press it, it lights up. It's going to take a little bit longer to brew the coffee to give it a bolder taste. And it does have a clean function. I'm going to do a separate video on how to clean this coffee maker. If your clean light is flashing at you or telling you it's on, That's telling you that there's buildup in your coffee maker and you need to clean it. So check out my other video on cleaning the Cuisinart coffee maker. Again, you got this cafe temperature, low, medium, and high. That's how hot it keeps the warming plate. And I showed you can turn the tone on and off. This thing beeps at you four or five beeps when it's done brewing. They're not super loud, but it may scare your dog or something. But if you hit this tone button, you'll see a big red X, or not red, but just a big X. See, and so it won't beep at you when it's done. So that's a really nice feature. I wish a lot of coffee makers had that. Again, the blue display is really nice. It's not super big, but you can see it from a pretty good distance, and I do like the quality of it. Okay, so let's brew a pot of coffee. Like I said, this is a cone filter. I like to use these cone filters. They do sell some that are white. These are supposed to give a brewing richer flavor. I'm not sure if it does or not, but I like to use these. So with the cone filter, you just got to kind of push it down in there a little bit, make it form to the basket. So I've got the cone filter in there hugging the walls. So the manual for this coffee maker says 1 tablespoon per coffee cup. Now we're going to put, this has got 14 cups of coffee. So we're going to put 14 of these tablespoons. We're just going to take a tablespoon, make sure it's kind of nice and level, and put it in there like that. I'm going to do 14 of those. Okay, so I've got 14 tablespoons of coffee in there. I filled this up to the 14 mark with water, and we're just going to pour it in the back. Okay, and we're going to put this down here. We're going to close this lid. Sight glass shows 14. So we're going to brew now. We're just going to come up here and hit this Brew Now button right there. You can hear it click and turn on. I'm going to time this, and we're going to check temperatures when it's done. Okay, so it's been about 7 minutes, and we're at the 7 cup mark. I want to show you that pause brewing. So there's a plunger up there that's going to come down and prevents it from brewing. I can get a quick cup of coffee, and then when I put it back in, it continues the brew process. This coffee maker is relatively quiet. It's got that standard percolator sound, but it's not super loud. And you don't get a bunch of steam up here until towards the end. But here's the filter basket. Looks like it's doing really well. It's not overflowing the filter basket, which is a really good sign. So let's talk about this bold setting. I've done a bold setting before. I don't necessarily notice that it tastes any different, but it takes about 5 minutes longer. So you got to press this button before you start the brew process, and it lights up. But it kind of like percolates and stops, percolates and stops. It doesn't stop very long, but it just kind of extends the brewing process. Like I said, I haven't noticed. You still get the same temperature, and to me it tastes exactly the same when it's all said and done. But that's what the bold feature is. Okay, it's beeping at us. Those beeps are kind of loud. So that is good that they give you that option to turn those beeps off. But that took 14 minutes to do. So we're almost to the 13 cup mark. So 14 minutes. That's pretty hot, so be careful. So it did a pretty good job on the filter basket. At least the coffee grounds didn't overflow. So that's about standard, 1 cup every minute. And it gets kind of hot up here towards the end of the process. The sides aren't too hot. Okay, so let's see how this pours. And we'll check a temperature. So the coffee pot pours really good. 170. Yeah, this thing is claimed to fame as perfect temperature. That's what it says on the box. But that brews a pretty hot cup of coffee. And I've had this. I've tasted this. This tastes really good. You know, Cuisinarts just brew a really good cup of coffee. Okay, so here This is going to stay on depending on how long you got the auto off set for. The default is 2 hours, but it can be anywhere from 0 to 4 hours. That's what's going to keep the warming plate on. So if I'm done with this coffee maker, I can come up here right now and just turn it off. That's going to automatically turn that warming plate off. So I brewed 14 cups. Now several people have asked me in the past, can I just brew 8 cups? Yes. This coffee maker will brew. So whatever a quantity of water you put in here, that's what it's going to brew. So say you wanted to do a 6-cup pot. You would fill this up with water to the 6 mark. Then you would just put 6 tablespoons in here at the coffee filter. You would pour your water in, you'd hit start, and it's going to brew those entire 6 cups. And you can do that anywhere along this 14-cup mark. When you get below 5 cups, that's when they want you to turn this 1 to 4 cup button on. So they want you to hit that, that turns that light on, and then hit the brew button. And that's supposed to brew it at a better temperature to give a better flavor. I'm not quite sure how they do that, but so like again, if you want to just do 4 cups, just dump 4 cups of water in and just put 4 tablespoons of coffee grounds in. And you're good to go. Like I said, anywhere along there you can do. I always do the 14 cup because I just want to show everybody what the maximum amount it can do. Okay, so let's talk cleanup. There's our filter basket. I do like it's got this little ear we can grab, and then that plunger is going to keep it from dripping so we can go throw out our coffee grounds. Okay, so cleanup, you can, after this has cooled down, you can wipe that off if any coffee got on it. You do get a lot of steam up here, so I would just wipe this down. I've got the filter basket out. You could wipe that down. Here's the 3 parts that are dishwasher safe. The filter basket you can put in the top rack of the dishwasher. The lid, and then even the coffee pot you can put in the dishwasher. So again, this is just this is a really simple coffee maker, but it does have some nice features that I really like. And it does 14 cups. So this is a big coffee maker, but it has kind of a small footprint. So if you got any questions, I check my comments daily. If you got any questions at all on this coffee maker, I'll try to help. Or if you got suggestions of future videos you'd like to see about coffee makers or a certain type of brew. I hope this video helps. That's the intention of my videos. I'm just trying to help others with the coffee. And if you could, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.